I'm King Link and it's my birthday month, which can only mean it's time for the Humble Choice August 2024 review. Oh boy, this is quite a month. We'll be all over the place, and you finally have a month where all the headliners aren't at the top of the list. That's a clue how this is gonna go. Let's go through the rules. I've played every game on stream for an hour, well mostly. I can now tell you who's going to enjoy the game, what the game is like, and if you should check it out. Afterwards, we can rank them and talk about the entire bundle, but before we can talk about the sum of the parts, it's time to talk about those parts. Starting with...
Leave these people alone.
What are you doing?
Sifu, a martial arts masterpiece. Sifu has one of the best openings to a game. It's just so perfectly paced and had me stunned as it ended. But from there, Sifu's tale of revenge begins with the player fighting his way through a warehouse and then a nightclub. It kind of reminded me of Daredevil. The entire experience is a high-octane fight with a heavy focus on dodging and parrying attacks while returning strikes and blows. Enemies seem fair to fight, with even bosses playing by the same rules as everyone else. On the other hand, this will be challenging. This is a game where you will die, and each death adds to your age, with a cap, so you eventually will get too old and end up with a game over. Sifu feels like it's designed to be farmed a little bit, rather than beaten on your first attempt. The first level is pretty reasonable, but because of the nature of the death counter and more aggressive enemies, the second level is going to be much harder. There is an easier difficulty if you want to fight your way through the game without being forced to completely master it. Pick this up if you like karate, kung fu, or any other martial arts. This is a high-octane game with a unique style. Yes, this is going to be extremely challenging, but it's not an unfair challenge from what I've seen so far. As I mentioned, you can go for the easier difficulty if it ever gets too much for you, and the style here is exceptional. This instantly made me a believer.
What's up, freak?
Jorb, greet the customer properly.
Welcome to Mr. Keeps dipshit. We're your friendly neighbors.
High on life. Please just shut up. I'm not going to try to be nice here. I previously played this title on Xbox Game Pass for a couple of hours. I disliked it, but now playing it again, I actually loathe it. There is a diarrhea of the mouth, non-stop jokes, and while maybe something could be funny if there's a build-up joke and punchline, here it's all punchline, and it's like the comedian could not risk any joke failing, that they shotgun it at the player. The gameplay isn't good. Now, if you hate the rapid fire, you can turn off some of the dialogue, but instead I quit the game and that solved the problem a lot faster. Nothing about this is funny, interesting, or worth playing. I forgot exactly how bad this game is, and now that I played it again, I'm quite upset because I did not have a single ounce of fun this time. I would say this is the worst game I ever played. That is a personal opinion, of course, but not something I would say lightly. It's not hyperbole, it's not a notice me declaration, I just hate it that much. I literally would play anything else other than this game, and if you don't like this game but think I'm going too far, try playing it a second time. Not going to talk about who should play it. You already know if you like this style of humor, and in this case I will fully disagree, but I'm glad you found something you enjoyed. I'm not going to talk about the creator, who, yeah, that's a whole other story. Not going to talk about anything else. I'm upset that I had to play this game and remembered how bad it was the first time I tried it. This experience had put me in a bad mood, that's all I can say. Also, this is actually what I did the minute I was done recording. Thank God.
Hey, Tim. How'd it go at the quarry?
Not well. I sweeped the whole place and didn't find anything. No one's been there in ages.
Gotham Knights, 3 Robins and a girl. Starting Gotham Knight, I was hoping for something that would be enjoyable, as I love the entire Arkham series. The opening of this game starts with Batman fighting Ra's al Ghul in an epic fight before handing the city over to his 4 protégés, Robin, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Red Hood. The game allows both single player and co-op, though it takes a while to get that co-op gameplay. The game is set up as a game as a service, if you know what I mean, with a ton of unnecessary resources and level-based combat, though there aren't actually microtransactions that I can find. While there aren't microtransactions, this kind of proves microtransactions aren't the problem. Everything else has the same typical flaws. Level-based enemies are stupid for superhero brawlers or any action game. The resources break immersion easily. The gameplay flow is designed for co-op, which harms the experience and story, and there are parts of the game where you just have to go out and grind. But a bigger problem is that big opening 20-minute fight scene that I mentioned is a cutscene. There's no gameplay for that entire time period, and while that fight is truly epic, it's with a character you don't get to play as, and not introducing the characters that you should be interested in this game. People wanted to play as Batman, of course they did, and even though this is co-op, it's almost like this entire thing was an afterthought. Also, the combat has none of the fluidity that the Arkham series has mastered, likely because it would be hard to do in co-op. Oh, and no parries, because animations are complicated in a network game. That's a guess, but I'm going to bet I'm spot on. I've personally been on a game that had to deal with that. Pick this up if you already played all 3 Arkham games recently or want to play something in co-op with a friend. But playing this in single player just made me want to go play any of the Arkham series, even Knight. But you know, there is at least a silver lining that I've heard from quite a few people. At least this isn't Suicide Squad. Ugh.
Tremble before our might, puny mortal. Soon, the rivers will flow.
Blacktail, a tale of Baba Yaga. Maybe. You know, I am taking a few big guesses on this game, but with a story about a witch named Baba and a character named Yaga, I feel like that's a safe bet. This game reminds me a lot of Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, maybe a B-tier version of it if you will, but there's an interesting world of characters with more of a focus on exploration than heavy combat so far. There's a lot more to do in the world with collectibles and upgrades and a bit more survival or crafting ideas, though nothing's too bad so far. There's also a morality system that feels more about the grayness of both sides than just pushing people to the side of the light. There's a weird design choice where if you continue the game, you don't recover your life, so you can get stuck into a harder fight with only 1 hit point left. That's a bad situation. The gameplay feels like it can be vastly overpowered so far, and for some reason, the first boss only had a quarter of his life bar filled. However, there was a bigger problem. At the end of my hour when I beat the first boss, I was on the evil path and the chest didn't unlock. I even quit back to the main menu, actually beat that boss a second time, and the chest remained closed. That really sucked a bit of my excitement out of the game. Hopefully it's a one-time bug, that's what I'm assuming, but it's not something I'm very glad about. Pick this up if you like interesting stories or wonderful worlds. I enjoyed exploring the game, and I kind of want to see where the story is going to go. I want to find out if I'm right about Baba Yaga, and have some guesses about a few other things as well. I'm mostly upset about that glitch, because up to that point, I really was having a lovely time.
You again. I feel like I got a mud on my heels that won't leave me alone. Hey!
Astral Ascent. Hades, Dead Cells, together? Astral Ascent is shockingly good. It feels like the developers took every important lesson from Hades and did something brand new with it. So far there have been interesting characters such as a capybara that you talk to, but the game also appears to be very focused on the Zodiac with supposedly at least 12 bosses. There's also 4 playable characters and I chose the Brawler, but all the conversation seems specific about that character, making me think that there's a ton of dialogue for each character from all of the surrounding characters. Plus the bosses even taunt the player in a way that just made me ooze with excitement. There's a lot more I want to lovingly praise. The controls are extremely tight and interesting, the enemies are great, and the player feels like they get a lot of power but can still easily lose a run so far. There's just an excitement about thinking about what will come next or what you can build. Oh, and there's couch co-op too if that's what you're looking for. So far the game does feel a touch easy, though I think there are harder ascensions, and I only just beat the first boss, which typically is when I usually think a roguelite is too easy, and it ends up smashing me about 5 minutes after this point. In addition, the graphics are good, but I'll be honest, it's a bit minimalistic even with great animations. Also, the game can be a bit complex with everything going on, but that's to be expected with a roguelite. Pick this up if you like Hades for its story or Dead Cells for its 2D platforming gameplay. This is seriously good. I'm sorry I missed this game initially because this is actually everything I wanted. I'm excited to go back and keep playing this. Divulian Ultra. Probably got that wrong. This is a beautiful and unique boomer shooter. Divulian Ultra has some great artwork. The opening is beautiful and the gameplay is quite nice. This is mostly a boomer shooter, but there's an attempt at a story here. Mostly though, you're going through a level and shooting everyone. It's more about the style. You have a bit of organic weaponry going on as well. The problem is there's some roughness here. First off, the game forces you to buy the guide upgrade, which is fine, but the couple times I used it, it just wigged out and went to the wrong place. Kind of a bad problem in my opinion. When it just flies over a wall, you have no way to get through. In addition, there's a feeling that this is kind of in early access or something. Like the game talks about chapters 2 or 3, but they're not out yet, but it's supposed to be the full game. I'm not sure what's going on here. There is a strange save system where once you hit a checkpoint, you can continually revive there and any damage done to the enemies remain and you get full life back. It's nice for players who are overwhelmed, but I think it also removes a lot of the challenge of the game. Also, there are quite a few platforming sections, most of which feel optional, but they're a little annoying when you actually need to work your way through a room with jumps, which does happen. Oh, and the game seems to support controllers, but without an actual dash button on the controller, the tutorial is impossible to complete, and so you have to use a keyboard and mouse even after that point. Pick this up if you love boomer shooters. This is a pretty solid entry, however there's a lot of this genre out there. The art here is particularly good, but that's the high point, and the gameplay is solid, but honestly nothing that exciting. The story too feels shoehorned in, but what's really sad is it's not. The developer posted his entire world building, and I read through it. It's quite good. The problem is that building was posted on Reddit, and it's not in the actual game. That's a mistake. Oh well. Universe for Sale, a dull visual novel. Universe for Sale sounds like a good concept. The game is set on Jupiter with all the characters having to hide from acid rain. There's inventive character designs and races. This honestly feels like it's one of the most innovative attempts to build a world, and there's some interesting philosophies and thoughts involved here. The main character meets a woman who's said to be able to shape universes. And after an hour, honestly I felt like I was almost falling asleep. There's no voice and the text is boring. As innovative as the world building is, there's nothing that really made me want to play on. I feel like I'm missing something, and it's anything exciting or interesting enough to keep playing. There's nothing wrong, just nothing that interesting. And by the way, future here, I did find out that there's supposedly some time loop in the game. Maybe I kind of saw it, but it's not really played that way, at least not in that first hour. To be honest, it doesn't really change my opinion of this game. Pick this up if you must have a visual novel with very light point-and-click puzzles, but even so I do think that this isn't very good. Still, I am thinking I'm missing something, but I have no clue what that would be. Even that time loop doesn't seem to be it. I'm just not enjoying this one as much as other games. This means Warp. FTL meets Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time. If you immediately wanted me to say FTL here, well yeah, you're on the right track. You move around the ship and you can control various systems, but there's a lot more here. First off, this does feel designed for multiplayer. You do recruit AI companions, at least in single player, but you can also do local or online multiplayer, which probably becomes a lot more hectic. There's a bit of micromanagement of the ship itself here, which is very similar to Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, and it's a good mix. I was able to beat the second boss, and that boss had an interesting mechanic. I'm not going to spoil it here, but trust me, that one was fun. On the other side, this does feel like it was designed for multiplayer, so playing single player is fine, but I kind of wonder if I'm missing out on a bit of the fun. I still haven't figured out most of the systems, and while the first run was okay, the second run seemed to be blessing me with every type of bonus, so it was a lot more powerful. You unlock more stuff as you level up through the game as well, so there's probably a lot of progression that can be done through multiple runs. Pick this up if you like FTL. Yeah, it's FTL plus a few other things, but I think this is a little weaker than FTL itself, which is one of the best games ever, rather than a merging of two distinct styles. Still, as a concept, this is excellent, and if you could get a few people playing, this would be a great blast with a group. I even think alone, it's worth checking out. And that's what I have for the games of the Humble Choice this month. Speaking of which, that means it's time for Is There Any Deal? And of course there is. Shockingly, this month there's a mega deal from High on Life. That game has gone for $23 at its lowest, so you're saving almost half. Except, okay, so it was bundled 5 times. One of those times was Fanatical, and most of these games have been in a build your own bundle there. I kind of don't usually care about that, but the fact that so many were, it's kind of disappointing, Humble. But High on Life was also in the IGN Live at Home from June of this year, only 2 months ago, and Spaced Out bundle from last year. Both times it was at $30, so it's a good deal, but it has been bundled before. Gotham Knights was in the WB 100 Play the Legends bundle at $15, and technically it was also in the Turkey-Syria Earthquake Relief bundle, which went for $30. Now, I'm not going to fault the charity bundle. That's a different situation. They probably rushed around to try to find anyone who would throw in their game, but again, come on, Humble, this was actually in a bundle recently. Now the rest of these games have fluctuating prices, though Astral Ascent, Sifu, and oddly Universes for Sale have pretty good values here. Speaking of Universe for Sale and Astral Ascent, they both came out in November of 2023, less than a year ago. Divulian Ultra was released in September of 2023. Technically, Divulian and Astral Ascent were coming out of early access at that time, but that still feels frighteningly short. However, people want more recent games, there they are. If you're someone who wants a big budget AAA game and all, well, Sifu, High on Life, and Gotham Knights kinda match that idea. However, I have a different opinion on those games, of course. I keep forgetting to mention this. There is a DC Infinite trial membership here that goes for 1 month. If you don't know, you can pretty much read almost any comic DC has made with that account, which is a pretty awesome deal. However, if you use it, it is a 1-month trial, so do be careful because they will try to charge your credit card potentially up to about $120 a year, which truthfully is fine if you actually want it, but if not, well, that's a lot of money. There's a coupon for Saturnalia and another for High and Knife, the DLC for High and Life. I'm just going to mention those for completeness. I think we'll just move on to the tier list because yeah, I have a lot to talk about there. As always, we have the misses, average titles, strong contenders, and the game that I think are worth the full bundle price. I'm going to be a little bit stronger in the personal opinions this month, but I think it's clear that I have some very strong opinions. Let's get started with the misses. High on Life. I was clear before, I get no enjoyment out of this game. Some people will, and you know, I don't care. I already played some of this one once. I'm pissed I had to play it a second time. It's a comedy game. I didn't find it funny the first time. I found it worse the second. Thank God it's over. Speaking of games I didn't enjoy, Universe for Sale. This might be more enjoyable for someone else, but I almost fell asleep. That's a bad sign for any game, but this one is just boring. I know there are a few reviews from people who love it on Steam, but this is a good world, bad story. So let's take a quick look at the tier list so far. You already know what's here, but let's pretend it's special. So next up we have Gotham Knight. I can't get over the fact that I just want to play a different game from this. There are four great titles in this franchise that deserve your time. I forgot about Arkham Origin, which is also better. I can only imagine playing this if you have a friend who really wants to play a Batman game but there's so many co-op games out there, probably try those. And then there's Divulian Ultra. Yeah, I still didn't look up how to say that. Who knows if I'm right. It's a good boomer shooter, but this is an average tier, and ultimately it's an average game. Granted, this does go for $9.99 normally, and I guess I would forgive it a bit more if I was judging it based on the title itself and not as part of the choice, but ultimately I think I'd rather play another boomer shooter, even though these graphics are pretty great. And halfway through the list, we have 4 titles already. Here they are. Next up, This Means War. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I probably won't return, but if a friend wanted to, I could be talked into playing this again. It's a good roguelite based on a fantastic title in FTL and has co-op, which only makes it better. There's an overwhelming feeling from the game, but when you're stomping the enemies, it's very fun. Oh, and I haven't mentioned before anywhere, but spacing enemies, it's probably my favorite part of this game. It is so much fun. That's followed by Blacktail. Okay, listen, I'm going off the assumption I'm the only person to have that glitch. Maybe restarting the game and beating the boss again would mean I could go on with the story. And honestly, I was having a good time. That is the truth. The morality system was pretty binary, but I also like that the game's evil wasn't just over-the-top evil, but just darker path lines. And it felt more organic in that way, like it's actually possible. I'm actually very tempted by this title. And this is how we look before the final tier. Next up we have the games worth the full bundle price. Okay, yeah, there is one headliner left, which is where we'll start. Here. Sifu. I like this game a lot. It's inventive, it's clever, it's got a unique battle system and solid gameplay. It's very challenging, which is probably the one reason it doesn't fully click with me more, but so is Elden Ring, Dark Souls, and a ton of other games. And you know what? If I put more time into this game, I'd probably get better at it, and it does have that difficulty option. Nice. This leads us to the game of the month, and yeah, it's Astral Ascent. I love this game. This is the most excited I've been about a Humble Choice edition in a long time. Yes, I probably like the Yakuza more, but I already owned all of those. This is a surprise in my Humble Choice, and I'm thrilled to give it more time. I want to get done with this video so I can go do that. And that's what I have for this month's bundles. Here's the final tier list. If you have skipped this entire video and wound up here, also please watch the video because analytics and stupid things like that. Also, I usually talk about one bundle that I would recommend in place or in addition to the Humble Choice, and this month it's the Lego bundle. I love Lego games as an adult, but they also are great with kids. If you somehow don't have many of them, this list is excellent. I actually didn't realize I had most of these, but that's why my daughter now has an amazing collection of her own off at college. Well, I hope you enjoyed this month. I oddly did enjoy it myself, even though the lows were low. Astral Ascent, oh man. I'm hoping I can deliver on what I've seen so far because it would be amazing to play something that is even close to Hades or Dark Souls, and I'm glad people will have a chance with those choices. You know the rest. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. Hey, I can put up that Hades and Dark Souls video again. You should check that out. Throw me a comment and feel free to write out a 3-page dissertation on why High in Life can only be understood by someone with a high IQ, because trust me, I will totally read that. I will say I do feel a little bit bitchy when I'm ripping that game, but oddly, you know, I don't feel that bad about it. Again, if you don't understand, try playing it a second time. See you next time.